Welcome back to the Stumpf Moving and Storage YouTube channel. As always, I'm Sean, and today I have here with me our training baby grand piano. Now this baby grand piano is what we use to train our employees on how to move a piano. Today I'm going to show you guys step by step how we dismantle one of these pianos and we place it onto a piano board and pad wrap it so we can move them. Before we get into it, if you guys like this kind of stuff, if you learned something, hit that like button for me, and don't forget to subscribe to the channel for more videos just like this. Okay guys, the equipment we'll need are 11 movers pads, 1 burlap, and 1 U-Haul pad. These are interchangeable. We're showing you both of what can be used for the specific purpose. We'll get into that in a second. Then we'll have our crank straps. They have the E-track connectors. Here, let's pull it out so you guys can see. That's what your E-track connector looks like. We're going to have 3 rubber bands, 1 hump strap, and for this specific piano, we're going to be using a mallet and a flathead. Now, every piano manufacturer has different tools that are needed, so just know that you might need a whole toolbox, a whole set of tools, but for this specific type, we're just going to need a flathead and a rubber mallet. This right here is our piano board. We're going to be using that in conjunction with this 4-wheel dolly. And once you watch this video, you guys will see what to look for when assessing the tools needed to perform this job. So let's go ahead and start pad wrapping the piano right now. Now that you guys know what kind of equipment we'll need to perform this job, we're going to go ahead and prep the piano by pad wrapping it, and then we're going to dismantle it and lay it on its side. Depending upon the type of equipment you guys have, you can either use one of these U-Haul pads or a burlap to protect the keys and the internal workings of the piano. We'll take this pad and lay it out across the keys, and then we'll take the lid to the keys, closing it, locking that pad in place. With that excess pad, pick it up and stretch it out. Roll the sides, the left and the right side, over top of each other. And then we'll bring it in here as we take the music rack and set that down. Now you'll notice that we leave the lid on baby grand pianos when we move them. That's because the lid helps protect the inner workings of this instrument. We also leave the music rack in place. Unless we absolutely have to take these items off, we will not. Now we'll take the pad and place it inside of the instrument. This pad is specifically there to protect the keys as well as the music rack and anything internally here in the instrument. And we'll go ahead and let the lid down, but we will wrap the stand. That ensures that doesn't get scratched and there's no issues there. Placing the lid down, we'll flip it over. For baby grand pianos, we'll only need 1 pad at this specific moment. As long as the entire lid is covered, we'll be good to go. Now we're going to go ahead and grab one of the rubber bands. Specifically, we'll be grabbing the largest rubber band. That way it doesn't strap or stretch out on us. And just working from one corner, we're going to go all the way around. Then we'll take one of the smaller ones, and we're going to start working from left to right. We'll go around the keys. This here is going to make sure that the lid doesn't open up on us later. Now that the piano is in the beginning stages of padding, we're actually done right now. We're going to get it out of the way so we can go ahead and put the piano board down and prep that. Once we have the piano board ready, we're going to go ahead and take off the back left leg. So our piano board has E-track connectors attached to the side. This is why we need the E-track connectors on our crank straps, because later on when we go to secure the piano to the board, well, that's how we do it. So we'll get this set down. All right guys, now that we have the piano board down, we're going to go ahead and take a look at it, make sure that everything's good to go. By running our hand across it, you're making sure that you didn't pick up anything from another job, nothing is defective here, nothing sticking out, no screws, nails, whatever. And even with that done, I recommend placing a moving pad down. We're going to fold it long ways. That way you really limit the risk of any damage, especially on a piano like this. It has an ornate side. I don't know if you guys got to see that earlier or not, but more reason why we want to place a pad down, just to make sure that everything has another extra level of protection. Okay, so with you guys can see the pad has been folded long ways. So technically you have 4 layers of protection on there. That's good to go. Now we'll go ahead and bring the piano back around and get that ready to be placed on the board. Now just for the sake of space in here, I am going to spin the board and the piano so you guys can watch exactly how this is done. Before I get any further, guys, if you need anything to get this job done, go ahead and take a look in the description below. Right down there, we have everything you need to get this job done. From moving pads to bands, it's all listed right down there. Now, if you're wondering why I'm doing this by myself, well, that's because I have the experience necessary to perform this type of move, but also I'm in a controlled environment. Now, in a real-world situation, we would never send a crew out with less than 2 team members, and preferably 3, especially for a baby grand piano. Now let's get back to it. Okay, getting back to it, we're going to square the piano up to the piano board. Now we're going to go ahead and grab one of those moving pads, fold it up, that way it looks like a square, and we'll place it near the lyre. Just like that. Now we'll take that pad and we'll set it down by the lyre. This is typically when you're going to need those other individuals on your team and your crew to go ahead and assist you, because one of them is going to have to lift the piano while the other slides that pad underneath the lyre. Now this can be done without using the lyre. In fact, if the lyre is brittle, if the lyre has seen any damage, we're going to want to remove that. Then your crew members are going to have to hold up on either side here while the third person removes the leg. And then they'll gently set it down onto the piano board. But for the sake of today's exercise, we're going to tip the piano onto its side using the lyre. We're going to go ahead and assume that your lyre is strong, sturdy, and can handle this. Again, if it's not, you need to assess it. Make sure that it has never seen damage, it's not water damaged, it's not cracked, it's not dry rotted, it's never been reassembled, and it's not ornate to the point where it can't hold any weight. Then we're going to go ahead and use that as a fulcrum to bring the piano down on its side. Again, if you guys have a damaged lyre, if it's seen better days, what we're going to do then is remove the lyre. We're going to have a crew member over here holding up underneath, not on the leg, underneath here, making sure that they're not holding anything brittle. And then another crew member on this side here holding up, and they're going to lift with their legs, not their back, take pressure off of this leg while your third crew member undoes this leg. They remove it, they get out of the way, and then the 2 who are left holding the piano gently set it onto the piano board. That's how that would be done. Today we're going to go ahead and use the lyre as a fulcrum because I know this one's strong enough. We use it for all of our training purposes. And we're going to start by placing the pad underneath the lyre. Again, we would typically have another crew member, and they would lift here, and one hand underneath the keys here, one hand around the other side of the leg, and they're going to lift with their legs, bringing the piano up into the air, while their team member goes ahead and places this moving pad under the lyre. But I don't have that today, so I'm going to show you another alternative. And this alternative is something that we want to make sure we take full account your physical ability. We're going to use our body to lift it as we place the pad underneath. I'm going to get you guys a close look here. All right, guys, so you're going to have to get on all fours. We're going to get into a section of the piano where we can make contact with our back. We're going to lift up into the air, high enough to get that lyre right into place. Again, that's not the most ideal way to do it, but it is a way to do it. We're going to go ahead now and remove this leg. All right, we're going to use our flathead screwdriver to remove any screws. And with these older pianos, don't be surprised if the screws are stripped or really hard to get out. It is just the nature of them. And then, like this one here, it's just kind of spinning around. Now we'll take our mallet and we'll give it a good tap because it has a key kind of locking mechanism in there that we have to slide it out of. So there's the key locking mechanism I was talking about. It slides up into it. When we get it on its side, you'll be able to see better. Now again, we are in a controlled environment, so this could sit here for a couple minutes, but this is the point in time when your lyre can crack, break, or explode, sending pieces everywhere and your piano toppling to the ground. That's why it's very, very, very important to make sure that you guys, one, this is secure, and two, this can handle the weight of the piano. There's a reason a lot of people say don't do this technique. Well, that's because they've had bad experience with a bad lyre. They didn't do the due diligence and check to make sure that it could handle this. If you have any inkling whatsoever, remove the lyre and place it directly onto the piano board. You could do this all day long with a strong lyre. Just make sure you check. Now we're going to go ahead and set the piano down and finish dismantling it. At this point, we're going to bring the piano board in closer. You guys are going to have to really eye it up to make sure that the piano will make contact with the board when it comes over. So basically, it's going to want to be at a slight angle, facing further away from the piano on that side, closer in on this side, because the way it is leaning right now, it will want to touch down here first and then eventually touch in the back. But as it touches in the back, it will be further this way. It won't be setting down on this side of the board, it'll be setting down on that side. So a little bit of an angle. Make sure you have room here between what we call the butt of the piano board and the end of the piano here. Bringing it in, you can kind of see that we have a good trajectory, probably going to hit right around this area here. And then all we have to do is drop it down. Again, guys, you want to make sure that you're using your legs when you do this. Don't strain your back. I'm going to grip right here. We're going to put a little downward pressure and the piano will do all the work on its own. So I was a little bit further, but if you guys grip anywhere other than the middle of the piano, you could actually smash your fingers. Now think about it. We're setting the piano down on this edge here. If you guys place your fingers over that way, well, you're going to crush your fingers. So move it down a little bit. Be cognizant of where you are. You guys can really do some serious damage to your hands if you're not paying attention, if you're not aware, and if you've never done this before. That's why we always recommend using a professional to move pianos. Now I'm going to go ahead to the other side and I'm going to push the piano up onto the board. Coming around to the back of the piano, I'm going to position myself in the middle, slightly to the side of the keys, because that's where most of your weight is. And I'm going to take kind of like an upward pushing motion. Again, we're going to use our legs, not our back. Don't strain yourself. And I'm going to push the piano up onto its side gently. You guys can see that we are not perfectly on the board. That's okay, it happens most of the time. What we are going to do is slide the piano back into place. Okay, I'm going to go to the back and do the same thing. Make sure you have a good grip, because with pianos, making sure they're balanced is very, very important. Finally, I'm going to go ahead and do it over here. Now we have to push the piano up. So I have about 6 or 7 inches here. This is again when you're going to want another person to help, because that other person can put their foot at the butt of the board. You can push forward and that board won't slide anywhere. Here is going to be a little more difficult because we're on asphalt, actually concrete, and the board could slide on me as I'm pushing the piano up. Hopefully it won't, but there's a good chance it will. So I'm going to go ahead to the front, push it forward. Okay, I'm up there. Almost. Another very, very, very important thing that I forgot to mention earlier. When you go to put the piano down onto the board, do not put the lid onto the board. This lid overhangs the board. That's how I'm going to know the piano is perfectly square on this board and where I want it to be, because this lid should come close to touching, not touching, but close to touching the side of the piano board. It overhangs about a ½ inch, an inch, depends on the type of piano, about a ½ inch. But the main thing is, if you set this piano down on that board and the lid touches the board, you'll break the lid. Again, another reason why you have to hire a professional piano mover who has experience, knowledge, and education necessary to do this, because you don't want to break your lid, you don't want to break your lyre, you don't want to break anything, so just hire a professional. I'm going to go ahead and start padding this up real quick. There's a couple more pads, but we do have to get the legs off as well as the lyre, and then we're ready to transport it to its new home. All right, again, we're going to take the flathead, remove those screws. Each and every type of piano is going to have different hardware securing the legs. Just know that you'll have to assess it. And again, if you guys need a wrench, if you need a socket set, if you need an Allen key, just make sure you have a toolbox ready to go with the gear that you need. Now we'll take our rubber mallet and we'll give it a little tap. If that didn't loosen it up, sometimes tapping the bottom will help free everything up, and then we're going to go ahead and loosen it up, get it out of there. All right, we'll take the back leg off now. If you guys ever come across a back leg that is shorter or longer, it's important to take note when you guys go to assemble this, which one is longer or shorter. And it's typically going to be this back one here. Now, that may fluctuate with different manufacturers, but just remember to take note, and all of these should be labeled 1 through 3 and should add up correctly. Well, I mean, line up correctly. However, sometimes that's not the case with these older ones. So just pay attention when you remove them where they go later. You could even leave a little mark to let yourself know. And this lyre, we're actually going to take the supports off first. You guys can see they're just held on by some screws. As are these here. We have 3 of them. 1, 2, 3 to remove. Yeah, don't be alarmed if these are loose. That's just how a lot of these old ones are. If they're tight, you probably had a good owner or it's newer. This is another time when help is nice because they can help support this as you take it off. We don't want to scratch this, so we'll place these in my pocket or on the pad for now. Take it off and pad it up. This is the key I was talking about earlier. This is what keeps the leg in place. Now, all of your major manufacturers have this. It is a very secure way to do this, but with these older ones, you can see that they've added an extra layer of protection with the screws to make sure that nothing happens here. Your Steinways will have blocks or wedges, some type of contraption to keep the leg from shifting. That would be found in this area here. This is not a Steinway, so it's been using screws. And there you have it, guys. All of the legs have been removed, the lyre is removed. Now we can finish padding the piano. Okay guys, we're going to take the rest of these pads and finish wrapping. We're going to want to go long ways here with the moving blankets, moving pads. This one here is to protect the keys as we wrap it all the way around. You guys can see I laid this section over. Now I'm draping that section, and that will cover the front of the piano, all the keys, as well as about 1.5 to 2 feet of the back, and then I just drape it down over top. We're going to do that in the front here. Again, we're a long ways here, guys. And we lay the pad just like that. That's going to protect the front of the piano, obviously the lid of the piano, and now we're going to take 2 more pads and drape them over top to keep those in place. Now, not only do these pads here keep, these next pads we're going to add, keep the ones we just put on in place, they also protect it from the straps. Now, they'll help protect from any over tightening of straps, things like that. We're going to be going a long ways here, guys. And we keep these pads on with rubber bands. Starting on this side here where the keys are, we'll just place it right around. Get that final one. And we'll take the final band. Now, if I said 3 earlier, I meant 4, because you're going to need 2 here. And bring it all the way down there. And you guys can see just how nicely that holds everything in place. We'll go down, continue to bring it down over here. Perfect. Guys, when you use rubber bands, you don't need stretch wrap. Stretch wrap is honestly a waste. Unless you have a specific reason why you're using stretch wrap, cardboard, things like that, you don't need that stuff on a piano. All you need are moving pads, moving bands, and proper technique. No, you do not remove lids of pianos. Guys, that is a very novice idea. Unless you have a specific reason, an articulable reason, as they say, do not remove the lid of your piano because you're exposing the inner workings, you're exposing the instrument to damage. I don't know why that's a thing. I see a lot of that online. You don't need to do that. In fact, pianos come from the manufacturer with their lids on. I can show you a video of that right now. I'll splice that in right here. And another thing that I see a lot of is cardboard and stretch wrap. Guys, you don't need to do that. If you have rubber bands, professional moving pads, your piano will be perfectly pad wrapped and secured. And if you don't have any of that, go ahead and take a look in the description below. It's all listed right there for you. I don't know why there's a trend right now of people taking lids off, taking actions out, using a ridiculous amount of stretch wrap, even moving pianos backwards. I see a lot of that online. Guys, this is the butt. This right here is the butt of the piano board. That is the end. That should be going down. If you're going down steps, if you're going down a slope of any type, any kind of a grade, the weight of the piano and the butt should be going down. This should be going up, and the gentleman in the front should be using a hump strap. The guy in the back should be holding it as if he were playing football, if he was a lineman. This is a delicate instrument, but is a bear of an instrument. And if it's not moved professionally or properly, and you don't have people who know what they're doing, well, things could go wrong quickly. Well, we're going to finish up here. All I have to do is push the piano up, about another inch, and then we're going to go ahead and strap it down. Okay. We're there. Again, we're going to want to make sure that the piano is all the way over. So this piano is all the way over on the board. Again, the lid cannot sit on the board. That will break your lid. Make sure it does not. Now we're going to go ahead and strap this down, and we'll show you how that's done. We like to use these crank straps. You guys can find these in the description below as well, but they're pretty readily available at any local hardware store. We're going to go ahead and make sure that the buckle side is on the underside of the piano. So that'll be on this opposite side. We're going to use the tightening side or the strap portion on the lid. Make sure you don't have these twisted either. So we'll make sure they're straight. That's in there, so we're going to go ahead and lengthen out a little bit, but we'll lay this over top until we're ready on the back end. We're going to do that now on this side. Now on the fronts of these pianos, they are obviously shorter, so we find it necessary to tie our crank strap portion of the strap. If you guys can find them where they're shorter, that's great, but right now this is what we do because they're not easy to find in that shorter length. So it works just the same, but if you can find them shorter, that's great. Go ahead and get this connected in there. Now we'll bring this over and I'll take you guys around the back side to show you how those are connected and strapped down. Alright, we'll lift the pad out of the way so you guys can see, making sure that this buckle and strap is straight. We just click it on into the piano board. And we'll do the same thing over here. Okay. Making sure it's straight, not twisted. Click that buckle in. Pull these up. So you guys can see what we got to do here. Okay, that is all tight, strapped down. That excess we just loop through like that. We'll do the same over here. All right, we just do the same thing over here. Crank it down, but we don't want to get too tight. Just tight enough that it's snug and not going to move. If you go too tight, you can risk damaging the piano. Then we take that excess, we fold it, and we slide it through. There you have it, guys. Perfectly padded piano. Those pads that are left over back there, those are going to be for your lyre, your legs, and your bench. Right now I'm going to go ahead and put this on a dolly. I'm going to do it myself, and I do not recommend you do this yourself. This is just because I'm trained, we're in a controlled environment, and I want to show you guys a 360 view of how this piano looks. Padded up, secure, and ready to be shipped anywhere in the US. I'll take my dolly, I'll lay it down for just a moment. Right now I'm looking for my piano straps. They're right here. The straps are for when you go to butt the piano. We butt the piano, well, there's a reason we call it butt. It's called butt because you're basically lifting the piano on the axis point or the butt of this piano board. So to get the dolly underneath the piano board, we're going to go ahead and lift from the straps provided on the board on either side. The one thing I would take into account if you have a bigger piano, concert grand, we would use a hump strap and we would send it through those straps to help lift because it's much longer, much more difficult to get your hands around those straps there. This baby grand, much easier. Another thing to keep in mind, this is another reason you'd want multiple people here. We would normally have a person on the back end here and they would hold the balance as well as assist by putting their foot here to keep the board from sliding. I don't have that luxury today. Again, we're in a controlled environment. I have more than enough experience and education in this to bring this to you by myself. We're going to go ahead and butt this up, and I will place the dolly underneath by myself using just the piano straps that are attached to the board. Again, it's important to lift with your legs, not with your back. And it's going to be similar to a deadlift, not the exact same thing, but similar. And we're just going to lift it up in the air, put the dolly in. Now you may have to adjust. As you guys can see, I had to place it on my knee to get up under and grab the actual board. Now I'm going to take the dolly, get it semi into place there. We lift it up, come on down. Guys, this is a very dangerous part of this whole thing because this piano can tip at any moment. So if you're not skilled, don't lie to yourself. If you don't have the education, don't lie to yourself. And just hire a professional. There it is. Very easy way to do this. We'll take you for a 360 view here now. Back side of the piano. Everything is covered. Now if you're wondering why this section isn't covered, because this section does not go along the wall in the piano truck. We place the lid to the wall in the piano truck and we secure this side facing out. So there's no worry of any damage because the only things in a piano truck are pianos and we don't stack them. They go along the wall individually. So there is nothing to worry about here. That dolly there, as you guys can see, is perfectly centered. It's exactly where you want it to be. And now you might think to yourself, well, it's actually further back, but it's centered on the weight of the piano and not the overall length. All your weight in the piano is back here on the keys. So when you're moving a piano, this is the back and that is the front. It's a lot different than whenever you're playing the piano, where this is the front and that is the back. No, this here, the keys are always the back of the piano, and this section here is going to be the front of the piano. So if we're going up a hill, that section goes first, this section goes last. If you're going down a hill, this goes first because this is the weight, right? That's what you can control, and you have the butt here to keep the piano from sliding off. Now, often I see on videos going opposite, and that's backwards. So if you turn this around, that's backwards. So just remember, keys always go downhill first, whether that's steps, whether that's a yard that has a slant, a driveway, slanted driveway, any type of grade. And this butt here prevents the piano from sliding off the piano board. With that in mind, guys, it's very important to hire a professional. Don't do this by yourself. You will end up getting hurt. If you guys remember when I was butting that piano up, I told you that it is the hardest part of this whole process and the most likely point when you're going to damage something outside of setting it on the side. Just go ahead and hire a professional. You're not going to regret that. It's money well spent. And with that, if you guys enjoyed this video, go ahead and hit that like button for me. If you want to see anything else that I didn't cover here, go ahead and leave me a comment in the comment section below. We love hearing from you guys and I get back to you. And don't forget to subscribe to the channel for more videos just like this, and I'll see you in the next one.